Once you've installed Folder Fanatic, you'll find it under Windows, Extensions, and Folder Fanatic. So Folder Fanatic is a project organizer. It works on presets, which you can define yourself. And just to show you what it does, if I have the Folder Fanatic default preset here and I hit organize, it will take all of this and it will stick it into a folder structure based on the rule sets applied to that preset. So this is a dockable application. It comes in 3 sizes, which is the bar, which is my preference to dock just above the project panel, which we'll do in a moment. And then the final one, which is really more for when you're kind of doing stuff and you've had to squish that over, you can still have access to it if you need to get into your preferences or to organize your project. A quick one. So what's going on here is that we have different preferences and will be shown in a drop-down. We can also, this is a combo box. So if you have a load of presets, perhaps a load of templates or different client variants or whatever you may need, you can search those out. So if I start to type in new, you can see that I can bring up anything that has an E in it. And then I can use my up and down arrow keys on my keyboard to select the one I want and hit enter. And then I can organize it. And you can see that we now have a new folder structure. There's nothing in there. And so it's just the 2 defaults that will always be generated. So yep, that's how we can select presets in this panel. It does change a little bit in this one. So first of all, there's no drop down, but we can scroll through using these 2 arrows. We can also search in here. So once again, if I start typing new, you'll see over here that I have one of 2 possible, and I can use my left and right arrows on the keyboard now to cycle through, and you're seeing, I can see now new preset 2. And if that's the one that you want, you hit enter. And there it is. And if I hit organize, that will use that. You can also in this mode, if you select there, you can use your mouse wheel to scroll up and down quickly through your presets. Then we've got what you're going to generate. So I'm just going to undo this. And then if we go to the Folder Fanatic, full will generate everything. So all the folders that are defined in that preset, including ones which are empty. So in this particular, I know that audio and pre-comp, there are no project panel assets being sorted into those, but because we're set to full, it will always create our whole folder structure for us. However, if you don't want that and you just want a completely clean folder structure with only ones being used, then you can use used. And if you hit now, you can see it's done the same for us here, except it's removed those 2 empty folders. You will see there is a folder called Unsorted, and that's because the default Folder Fanatic rule doesn't have a folder structure for 3D assets, so they are being sorted into the Unsorted folder unless you change something in the preferences. This is where everything that doesn't have a rule applied to it will go for safekeeping. And the same with solids. It won't have a solids folder, but it will always automatically generate a solids folder for you if any solids are found within your project, because you need a solids folder. After Effects will make sure you have a solids folder one way or the other. So you don't need to build them, but they will be made for you. So yeah, I'm just going to dock this in my preferred spot, which is just above the project panel for ease of use. And then I'm going to get into the more entertaining side of stuff, which is how to make presets and how to manage them. So if I click on that little cog there, you can see this is the meat and bones of the thing, which is where we can generate presets. So once again, if you want to edit a preset, we can select from this menu here. And then if I want to, so there's nothing in there, we'll come back to that in a moment. If I want to protect something, say this is perfect, I don't want to accidentally edit things because I'm a bit tired, I've been working for too long, I've come in to make a new template and I've accidentally edited this one, you can lock your preferred one so you know that they're safe and sound. There's no editing now, I can't delete or remove any of this. There's a little warning down there saying that I can't do anything essentially. So that's nice and safe. If we make any changes to this, I'll just change the label color here. I'll have to save it up here. It won't auto-save for you as you go through, because if you've made changes and you realize for some reason you're a bit tired once again, and you're in the wrong preset. But if you do make a change and then you go to do anything else, it's going to warn you. It's going to say, you've got unsaved changes. Do you want to save them? Do you want to discard them or cancel and return back there? So you're safe. You do have to manually save. You're never going to miss something. Then we've got new, which we'll return to in a moment. We have rename. Yeah, I will discard those. So we'll change new preset to Alliance A and rename, and then we have delete. So if we delete, if we delete everything, you will always end up with the default Folder Fanatic folder structure being rebuilt for you. And from here, what we'll do is we'll generate a new project. So when we make a new project, we have three choices. We can either choose to use the current stack, which is whatever is currently selected in our preset window up here. We have start fresh, which will give us a blank. And then we have copy another preset. So if you haven't been using a preset, but say client B rings you up and they're like, oh, we want so-and-so and we need it delivered in this spec, it's slightly different to normal. We need a folder structure like in this order, which deviates from our normal one. You could go find their normal folder from this list, select it, and that's your base level that you can start to work from. But we're going to start off with a start fresh. So I'm going to create this. So creating folder structures has been designed to be as similar to creating them in the project panel as possible. So down here, I can add in a top level folder. If I have a folder selected, I'm just going to call that comps. If I have a folder selected, it's going to make a subfolder. So I'm going to call that main, and then I'm going to add in a level one called pre-comps. And we go down and we create them as we go. So at any point, if you accidentally make a folder inside a folder and you don't want it, you can just drag it out into any empty space or this left-hand box if you've got an incredibly long template, and that's going to reset it. You can also shift select and command select in here to grab stuff and then reorganize them with drag and drop. And we also have undo and redo full capabilities in here. If I want to rename something, I can select it and hit enter and type it in. I can also just double click on it and type it in there. If I do want to clear everything, I can just hit clear and that's going to undo the whole thing. I'm just going to press Ctrl Z and bring that back. So this is where we're going to say this new preset is complete, and I can come in here and I can add my label colors in. If I want to, for example, say this is my PNG folder, I could say that I want all of the PNGs to also share the label color with the folder, so I could apply that there. And then this is where we would apply rule sets. So there are a whole bunch of rule sets, and in this quick start, I'm not going to get into the more complicated sort of layering systems. I'll do another tutorial for that. But you have your basics, which is up here, we have our main comps or top level comps, and then we have our pre-comps. And we have videos and image sequences, still images, audio, and 3D assets. That will take anything that falls within those categories and place it into those files. You can then get more specific. So if I select my PNG folder here and I open up stills, you can see in here I can select PNG. And even if we had another folder which used the still images, this will take everything that isn't a PNG. So because this has PNG set, it will override the still images folder and it will always take the PNGs. So something you might be concerned about is if I open up a couple of these, is that you're like, oh, there's not a lot in there. And this is just the default, just to keep it a little bit tidier. If we go into our preferences here, the first tab is format rules. And in here, you can see we have a bunch of stuff. So if I open up the still files, these are actually all the ones that Folder Fanatic are currently able to bring in. You can also just sort whatever you want using a naming convention. So if for some reason I have missed something, you can type in the extension into the naming convention and you'll find it. But otherwise, hopefully most of what you need is in here. So you can enable the ones that you tend to work with day to day. If you don't want to, you can just click show all. And if we return, you can see now these windows have everything in there. But for clarity's sake, you can customize that however you choose. Okay, so once we're happy with this, we can save it out and then we can select it from our list up here and we can organize. And there you can go, there's my beautiful new folder structure. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to delete this preset now so that we end up with only the Folder Fanatic one, because I'm going to go to new now and I'm going to start fresh again, and I'm just going to call this import. Don't have to do that. You can call it whatever you like. In fact, I haven't. I've called it something random up there. Never mind. And this is just to show you that you don't have to build in here. You've probably already got folder structures, or you may be working with someone new. who's sent you a project that you need to continue their folder structure. And so you can just import an existing folder structure from the project panel. So to do so, you just hit import, and it's going to go over here, and it's going to grab everything, and it's going to drag it into here. So this won't maintain any rule sets, but you have the folder structure already built, and I'm sure you're comfortable working in there. And now you can just come in and assign your rule sets to here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's your day-to-day quick start on Folder Fanatic. I hope it helps you and speeds up your workflows. And I'll be back shortly with a more advanced tutorial.